Hey, how's it going? Alex here from IdeaSpot, and in today's video, we have a WordPress form builder tutorial. The plugin that we're going to be using for this is called Happyforms. Now, this is a visual form builder for WordPress. It has a free and a paid version. Now, the free version is awesome for making things like basic contact forms and registration forms, and the paid version adds functionality like payment gateway and lead generation tools. So I'm going to have a look at both of these. I'm going to focus on the free version and get a good basic contact form set up in this demonstration. And I am also going to cover how this plugin can be used as a basic e-commerce solution as well. And I will be showing you how to implement the form onto my top 3 favorite page builders. You've got the Elementor page builder, the standard Gutenberg WordPress editor, and the Divi builder as well. It's all fairly straightforward. To get started, you can add Happyforms to WordPress. Just head over to Plugins and Add New in your WordPress dashboard and go ahead and search for Happyforms in your search box there. We're going to go ahead and install that one. Now, when that's done, we click Activate. And after we refresh our page, we should get our Happyforms in our WordPress menu there. So let's go ahead and look at all forms. So when you install this plugin, they've given you a sample form for us to look at. So let's have a look at that sample form to get started. So this is just a basic contact form, really. So you've got your first name, last name, what's your reason for contacting us, age, and a message, and a send button. So very simple. I think it's a good way to get started by focusing on this. What we can actually do is go back to our sample form and let's duplicate that form and let's edit this form and make it into something suitable for what we want on our website. For this example, I've built a basic little website here about joining a web design class. So what I want to do is add a registration form so prospective students can come fill in their details and register for a class. Let's take our sample form copy and start editing that to suit our new purpose. So let's click Edit. Let's start by changing the title. Let's change it to Class Registration Form. So this is going to be the form that a student would fill out if they're looking to attend one of these classes. What you'll notice immediately here is that it's all done in terms of the WordPress customizer. So you should be quite familiar with this if you've used WordPress a few times before. Quite simple to use. Our first field here is our first name. All of these are done just like a WordPress menu. So you can drag and drop these things around, put them where you like. Our first name, let's go ahead and click that down arrow and see what options there are. So the label is the first name and it is displayed above. Now this gives us a lot of flexibility in terms of where the labels go. Let's go through that to start with. Besides placing the label above, we can place the label inside the actual form. So I think that looks quite compact and I quite like that layout. The other thing you can do is place it below and you can place it to the left. And you can also completely hide the label as well. Now, why would you want to hide the label? I'll show you why, because you can actually just put your first name as the placeholder there. And that also looks really, really clean as well. So I quite like that method too. And there is one other little trick we can do. Let's delete the placeholder and click down on the more arrow there. And you can actually add a prefix. So we could put first name in there. And that is another pretty clean looking way of adding the label for your form. So several cool ways to do this. I think I probably prefer having the inside label. The other thing we can look at while we're here is the width. You'll notice that the first name and last name are both using this half width section and the other sections use full width. There are also options for a third, a quarter and auto width as well. So you can play around with those, but I think half and full for our form is going to work pretty well. So let's head over to our next step on our last name. All we wanted to do there was change the label display to inside. There we go. Okay, next thing we can look at is this multiple choice option here. So let's expand that. And what is your reason for contacting us? We can change this. I'm going to go ahead and change that to which skills do you want to develop most? And we're going to go ahead and change the labels on these options. So the 3 things my students are usually most interested in are web design, graphic design, and WordPress administration. So let's just fill in those. Just a matter of highlighting those and replacing them with our new text. So I've gone ahead and replaced those with web design, graphic design, WordPress administration. We can add more choices just by clicking add choice. Say we wanted to add, say, e-commerce. That's another popular skill people want to work on with WordPress. And you could even add bulk choices here. You could paste a whole list of things if you had tons of choices that you want to add to a form. So you could totally just paste in a list there. So totally up to you. Okay, our next one, what's your age? Do people even ask what's your age anymore? I think, can you even get away with doing that? How about what's your experience? That's a bit more polite. Maybe even what's your experience level? And then we can say like beginner, intermediate, pro, that kind of thing. So let's go ahead and delete some of those out. Yeah, there we go. So I might pop that in as beginner and some experience. And then could go WordPress veteran. There we go. Now, as you're working through this stuff, if you're happy with what you've done so far, go ahead and click update. Just make sure it's saved. So just in case your kids come in and smash the keyboard and you lose all your work, I don't know. I just like to hit update from time to time. Now for the last one, your message, let's change that to, let's make it your learning goals. And I might actually add a description here because your learning goals, it sounds kind of vague. You could say something like, what kind of web design project are you working on? Have you already started? Tell us more about what you'd like to get out of our class. So you'll notice once you've typed in a description, there is an option for description appearance. Now, the standard appearance it gives you the description under your input box. But you can actually change that. So you can change it to a tooltip, for example. So as a little question mark, if you click on it, it will give you a little pop-up of the description. So that is kind of cool. If you've got something that needs a little bit of explanation, that's a good way of displaying it. The other way you can do it is reveal on focus. So when the user clicks on there, you'll be able to pop up that little bit of information as well. So totally up to you. I quite like the standard version, to be honest. I think sometimes the tooltip will be good, but I think just leaving the standard description down there looks good in this situation. And finally, for your long answer, it asks you how many rows you'd like. It starts with 5, but you can make it longer if you wanted 6 or 7, if you really wanted a long answer. But let's just leave it at 5 for this. Now, there are a couple other obvious things I might want on a class registration form: email and phone number, obviously. So let's try and add those. So let's add a field, and email address is right there. Let's go ahead and pop that in there. I don't want the email field to be right down the bottom. I'd like that to be second row after the name, and I want that to be inside as well. There we go. We'll call that email. Now I think I want this email field to be half width as well. So let's make it half width, and let's try and put the phone number in there a bit later. So let's have email there, phone there. Now with our email field, it does give you a few options here. It is required. All of these fields have that option actually. And all of these are required by default. If they're not required, you can actually untick it and it will be optional. So just bear that in mind. I want all these things to be mandatory. The user should have to fill up all this form. But if you want to put optional things in there, you can totally untick those boxes. And here it will suggest common email, domains, Hotmail, Gmail, Yahoo. Require confirmation. It will require the user to confirm their email. And besides that, I think we're pretty good to go. Now let's try and add a phone number. So we go to add field. You'll notice that the actual phone number is not in the free version, but you can just add a regular number in the free version, which is cool. It doesn't have as many functions as what the pro version has, but we can go ahead and add a number there. Let's just go ahead and drag that number up to below the email address. Let's click that down and make it a half width and see if there we go. It slots in there nicely. We want to label display to be inside. And now this all lines up fairly nicely. I'm going to call that phone. There we go. All you have to do is make sure you hit this minimum and maximum number properly, because by default, it's only going to let you have numbers up to number 10. But we want that to be a full 10-digit phone number. So we're going to have to make this max number way higher than 10. So let's have a go at changing this to a 10-digit number. So I've put 10 nines in there. That'll be enough for a typical phone number. So let's go ahead and click update, see if that actually works. And that seems all good. So we've got name, email, phone, and some basic information. I think this is pretty good to go for our class registration form. Now, if we scroll down to add a field, I think we've covered off pretty much all the options in our free version. We've got short answer, long answer, email. We haven't done single choice. We have done multiple choice. We've got a drop down for the experience level. We do have a number for the phone number, and I think that's pretty much it. So let's try adding a single choice in there as well. There we go. Okay, for our single choice untitled, let's call this have you subscribed to IdeaSpot? And we're going to have the label above, And let's add a choice. Yes, and I'll do it now. There we go. Now I think I'll drag this one up a little bit higher in the quiz where it will look better. Probably there. So there's two choices here. If you haven't subscribed to IdeaSpot YouTube yet, go ahead and you can do it now. For those of you who have already subscribed, thank you so much for the support. You guys are the best. So from here, we've covered off all the features in the free version of the plugin in terms of building the form. Let's have a look at the form setup. So here you have options for customizing the thank you message. After they click send, you'll get the thank you message. If there's an error, you can customize the error message, and you can actually customize the button label there. So rather than saying send, you could make it say submit or whatever you like. But we can totally just leave all these on default, totally up to you. Let's have a look at email here. So from here, you just pop in the email where you'd like the alerts to go to. So by default, it's just your WordPress admin email. So I can just leave that as it is. It'll just say you received a new message. You can customize the subject. So you received a message from your contact form. If you wanted it to be a little bit more specific, for example, you can actually send a confirmation email out to the people who submit the form. So you could make that a little bit more personalized. I might make that, I might use the domain of the website here, alex@ideaspot.class, and same here. And I'll just make that from IdeaSpot. Just say we received your message, and you have got a little thank you message in there for the user who fills out the form. And you can also include the submitted values so the user can remember what they wrote in the form. If you like, you can go ahead and tick that box. I might just leave it unticked, for example, here. And then let's go ahead and click update. Now, the final tab is the Style tab. This actually gives you loads of stylization features, but the obvious thing you will want to stylize is this send button here. So that is the submit button. The first thing you'll want to do is change the background to match the background button of the buttons you use on your website. So on my website, you'll notice that my buttons are blue. They have square borders. We can go ahead and customize that. So let's just change the color, paste in the color that you want for yours, and let's go ahead and change the focus color as well. I'll paste that same color in. There we go. And I'd just like it to be a bit lighter when it's on focus. So yeah, that looks pretty cool. And then the actual rounded borders, let's go ahead and just make those square borders. That's just a matter of going up to the border radius and calling them square. So that is pretty much what we want for our website. Let's go ahead and click update. The other thing worth checking is the general. Let's look at the primary colors. These are all pretty good, actually. Like success is green, errors are orange, validation is orange. I think these are pretty good by default. If they don't match your branding, obviously, or they really are jarring with what your design is, you can go ahead and change them. That's where they are. You can look at the field labels and text, and you can get to those title, value, and placeholder colors in there. I'm going to leave those at default. I think they look fine for what I'm going to be doing. Field borders and spacing. Let's look at that. Border on focus is that nice light blue. I think that already looks good for what I'm doing because I've got lots of light blue, but you can go ahead and change that to whatever you'd like there. I think that's an important one because that does pop up a little bit, and it's going to change your user experience when the user clicks on those boxes. But look, there are tons of different styling options in this plugin. I'm not going to go through all of them, but it's great that there's so many there. You might have a picky client, or you might just be one of those people who is very detailed in terms of what they'd like their styling to look like. So it's great that there's this level of minutiae in the styling of this plugin. The other thing is you won't have to resort to your own custom CSS. In most cases, you'll find an option in these menus and you'll be able to get pretty much what you want from this plugin by itself. I think one thing I might tweak here is just the general width of the form itself. So you can just go into general and you've got a width percentage here. So you can go ahead, you can choose a width in percentage or pixels. I think percentage is a good way to do things, and just bring it in a little bit. Give it a bit more white space on the left and right there. I think this looks a little bit better. So let's go ahead and click update. So now that our form's pretty much done, let's go back to our dashboard under Happyforms and all forms. We can see we've got the class registration form there. The way we add this to our page is through this shortcode here. So you can just hover below there and copy the shortcode to your clipboard. So I'm going to click that. Now over on the page that I'm working on here, let's go ahead and click edit the page. So this is our standard WordPress Gutenberg editor. We'll get to Elementor and Divi in just a second. So let's cover this one first. What we want to do here is add a block. We want to add a shortcode and just paste that shortcode in there and click update. And now we can just view that page. Let's go ahead and do that. And there we go. Our form is all embedded quite nicely in there. I think the white spacing isn't quite right. So let's have a look at this in more detail. I've got some spacing there and there. Let's actually just move that white space up a little bit more. If you were curious about how I did that, I might just remove that. I'll actually just add a block in there and just call it spacer. That's how I did that. Just added a spacer block in there, and I'll click update. And back on our page, I think that looks a bit cleaner. We've got a little bit of space in there, a little bit of space at the bottom. We've got our send button. It all looks pretty much in line with what we hoped for. Now, in terms of Elementor, it's the same idea. Here's a page I've made in Elementor. Let's just click edit with Elementor. As soon as Elementor has loaded up here, we can put our form where we'd like to put it. Let's pop it there, for example. We want to just add a shortcode widget. So let's drag the shortcode widget in there, paste our shortcode in, click apply, wait for that to load up. And there we go. Our class registration form is ready to roll. I just want to add a little bit of a spacing into the top there to just make it look a little bit more spaced. It looks just fine. So let's go ahead and click update. And then here on our Elementor page, we can see we've got our form. It's all set up and ready to roll. Finally, if you were using Divi, I've set up a basic Divi page here. Let's go into our Divi builder. Same idea. We want to add a section. We want a regular section. Just one column will do. And we want to add this one is called a code. So where we go code, just paste that code in, click the tick button. And there we go. We've got our class registration form in our Divi page as well. So completely simple to add to any page builder, more or less. Now, besides the free version, there is a paid version as well. I think the business plan does give you some pretty cool features. It does give you this Stripe and PayPal integration, which is quite good. You can do a basic e-commerce site by integrating these functions into your form. So let's have a quick look at that. So with the paid version, you'll have to download the paid version from their website. Then you can go ahead and upload that from your downloads. You'll get a zip file. Go ahead and install that. And then click activate when that's all done. And after you've got that activated, you'll notice that two of these options are now unlocked. You've got integrations, and you've also got settings, and you've got activity as well. So when people submit forms, it'll actually save it into your WordPress dashboard besides emailing it to you as well. So a little bit of extra functionality there. But integrations is where you really get those features. So you've got payment integrations, Google Analytics integrations. You can integrate with your email services like MailChimp's the obvious one here, and things like SendGrid, Sendinblue, cool ways of adding lead generation and newsletters and things to your website as well. And finally, up here, you've got anti-spam service. So you can connect that to Google reCAPTCHA and stop bots from spamming your website. So that's a pretty cool little function as well. But I just want to touch on how this actual payment service integration works. I've actually already set up the PayPal sandbox mode so we can have a look at how the actual PayPal would work on a payment form. So to enable that, you'll need your client ID and the client secret, either from PayPal or Stripe. I'll show you how I got the PayPal sandbox IDs in just a second. So you'll need a PayPal business account to do this. You just head over to developer.paypal.com after you've done that. And under My Apps and Credentials, you'll just want to create an app. I called an app Happyforms. You go ahead and click on Happyforms after you've created that app, and then you can go ahead and copy your client ID and client secret from within there. But let's actually go back to our forms and let's add a payment to our form that we were building before. So let's go ahead and click edit. So now in our form, we can add a field, and we can go down and we can actually add a payment option to our field here. So here we go. So let's just call this one a registration fee. Label is above, and you'll be directed to PayPal at submission to complete the order. So we can choose currency, whichever currency you'd like. Let's just leave it on US dollars for this demo, and $10. Let's go ahead and click update. So let's go ahead and fill this out and see what the user experience is like. So there we go. I've gone ahead and filled all that out. Let's go ahead and go through to the PayPal registration. Now just put in the PayPal email. I'm just going to use a sandbox email for this and click next. Pop in our password and click login. And there we go. Because it's US dollars, I'm going to get slugged in Aussie dollars, 14.45. And there we go. And there we go. It just sends us straight back. Payment completed. All good to go. Besides PayPal, there is the Stripe credit card processing as well. So let's try that out. I've already put my test keys in here, but you can get your test keys from your Stripe account. You'll obviously need a Stripe account, but you'll find your keys when you log in under API keys, and then you can toggle between the test key and the live key and grab your publishable key there and your secret key from there. It's just a matter of pasting those keys in. We're going to be using test mode, so I'm going to select use test mode. But in either case, when you're ready to go live, put your live keys in there and untick the sandbox mode and test mode respectively and hit save. Now when we reload our form, we can go down and we can see we've actually got two payment methods, credit card and PayPal. So credit card, there we go. We can go ahead and pay with credit card. If you're testing with Stripe, you can always use this 4242 credit card number, pop in any date and CVC and click send. And then after a few seconds, you'll get a payment successful message. Back in our dash, I'm curious what it looks like just with the Stripe and the PayPal disabled. So I'm going to save that. And back on our form, if you're just using Stripe, you'll just say registration fee. You'll put your credit card number in and it's nice and tidy. So that's another really good way, I think. This is probably my favorite way of accepting payment, I think, with this plugin. The other option for e-commerce is obviously WooCommerce. I've made a guide on that before. Just go ahead and click that link and you can learn how to set up WooCommerce. That's pretty easy as well. But otherwise, this was a pretty cool, simple method of adding forms to a website. Hopefully it's been useful. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.